All right, let's get into it. It's what are we at? About 12 past 10. On what are we at now? Jeez, it's 6 of the 6, so it's ticking along. And that we got Thursday. So start off with DXY here because geez, wow, what a grind through yesterday it was, and got some data out overnight to unpack, and yeah, it's weird. I was thinking before, it's such a like it's such a busy week for such a nothingness kind of week. Like we've got sort of four or five bits of big sort of USD moving news this week, which we've seen sort of had pretty strong reactions. We had BOC last night, which I'll get to in a moment. They were one of the first ones, if not the first one actually, to cut. And we've got ECB tonight as well. So, yeah, BOC, bit of a proxy thing for USD, but I think sort of ECB might be a little bit of a mover. But again, they're expected to cut. It's been sort of widely sort of publicised for a while, so you'd expect maybe this is half the reason that DXY is actually sort of holding up a little bit, based on the fact that they think, okay, well, ECB is going to cut. But in saying that, that means that could effectively just be priced in. And if that's the case, well, the shock is obviously going to come from the other side. But overnight we had, well, actually, let's start yesterday. Yesterday we had the breakout through here. So this was what we were looking at yesterday with the analysis. This channel coming down through here. We're coming off a high time frame support area. We'll put in a technical higher low. Now we've got a higher low, higher high. It was moving through here and it popped through. Watching this trade through the day, it was just frustrating because, like, if you get down onto the lower time frames, you can see the reactions at the levels where you'd expect to see these levels. These reactions. We had a little sell down early here coming into this area. This is what we sort of picked out yesterday, saying, yep, okay. Came through here, back test, come up, test this next one over here, sold down, little negative divergence coming through here, and this just kept on pushing up. And actually, where this first sold down into, you can see, look at this, it pretty much exact like to the cent, pretty much, of those previous wick lows. And it got in there, clipped it, and bang, sold down. So yeah, look, it's certainly sort of like frustrating. Like you sort of think, okay, look, DXY seems ultimately to be moving down, but we've got a little break, so we just need to honor that break and then sort of see how it plays through. But the up, down, all over the place, and it's crazy. And obviously, we're sort of coming back down to the downside now. So we had a couple of little bits of pieces of news, like this little spike through here, this little 15-minute candle. Was when the BOC had their rate decision, which they cut 25 base points, which was pretty much, I think, expectation as well. So, I was speaking to a mate while I was watching this and sort of had a look, because I knew that BOC, well, Canada had been down in the 2% for their inflation for a short while. So I think sort of like, that's obviously the idea. Don't have to get 2%. It's 2 to 3% in that band, and then they can look to act or react. So a little bit of a push up in that. And again, it's not, I mean, this um, Canada, I think, only makes up a smaller part of the DXY, but you saw a little bit of a move. But then 15 minutes later, this rocket candle through here, this is ISM data. And this actually sort of, I think they were tipped to sort of move up. Yeah, so I'm just having a look now. So previously it was 49.4, tipped to go up to 51.1. So slight, an improvement and then slight expansion. So 50 being the sort of baseline. And it came in at 53.8. This is ISM services. So, like, this sort of shows that, look, you're seeing things are still sort of ticking along on a business front. So, the idea that sort of everyone's packing in for US dollar shorts based on the idea that they've got recession coming, based on the idea that they're going to have to cut to sort of deal with that. And it just flew. It went bang. It was fairly short lived. As you can see, we're almost pretty much back down to that level down there at the moment. But certainly, I was watching Aussie at the moment. I got stopped out on Aussie straight away. Had another shot, stopped out. I was like, okay, well, this kind of sucks. Rotated into gold, and then gold took like sort of it got smacked down a little bit, but then it came back, took out the highs, and just kept on going and moving up to the top. So I'll get to gold in a moment, but it sort of took out the highs, and one of those things when you see a sharp reaction off news and then the price like sort of moves sort of quite sort of distinctly in one direction or the other. if price can then sort of come back to the level in which I call it the data drop level, data drop point, so the level that the instrument was at when the news came out, if it can undo that fairly quickly, there's a good chance that you'll see that big momentum that it took to undo that carry out the other side. And you've seen this a couple of times when, you get sort of disappointing news with like, CPIs and FPs, these kind of things, and it undoes the move and it just adds to it. So, excuse me, it just sort of goes to show that if you watch these things enough, as these things are happening, you can go, okay, bang, well, this is going to continue on a little bit more. So I rotated into gold, and I made back, I think, three quarters, 7/8, I don't know, just a little bit under sort of what I took as a loss for the two Aussie trades. So all in all, technically down on the two trades, but what I mean, certainly better than that loss that I took at first on Aussie. Anyway, so where to from here? Cool. So we can drag up a couple of lines here. You can see that this is shaping up to be a little bit of a falling resistance through here. We've got a bit of a gap this morning, a fairly chunky gap actually, because it was saying where we are, it's 29. I say chunky gaps, 3 points, but what I mean, a lot of the gaps that we've had more recently on opens, I can't even sort of see where the other opens. You know what I mean? They're quite minor sort of gaps. So this is actually something that's noticeable on the chart. A lot of them have been sort of half a point or something like this. So obviously, bit of a sell down. It's continued in the AM. So just off of sort of Asia Open, and we'll sort of have to wait to sort of see if this is going to sort of push further down. And then obviously there's a little bit of support where we sort of came in yesterday. This was just as we were sort of coming back down into basically yesterday's open levels, sold down, off news, rocketed up, come back down here again. So with these gaps, I always do expect these things to close. So we could see a little bit of a push up and then sort of back down. We could see a push up and continue all the way through. This could also come later in the session. So I think I'll try and work a little bit more on it. But I think sort of if it doesn't close after sort of like maybe an hour or 2 hours, I think then you've got a window that pushes out to maybe sort of like into European sessions. So maybe you'll sort of get something that'll push down here. ECB will cut. We'll get a rocket up here. And then bang, market can sell into it again. Because the thing is, this move through here is, okay, yes, it's they had strong data. That backs the idea that, hold on, wait, it's not too bad. But you got to look at the sort of resulting price action. And the resulting price action is, even after this solid, massive rocket candle, all the way up through all these levels, it tried once, tried twice, tried 3 times, actually took out a high here, and then market still went, nah, bang, give me a shot to sell it, and they've sold it down from there. So, you know what I mean? Certainly if you take out that level up here, well, okay, different story. But for the moment, it's sort of seeming like, even sort of seem like, good data. You can't see me doing the finger mark, quotation mark, but good data, USD strong data, is just used as an excuse to sell into. So this makes me think that sort of even once ECB potentially cut tonight, we could sort of be seeing a spike up off the news because euro makes up the largest portion of DXY. But if the market's just selling into any chance they get to sell it higher, well, we may see a fairly sharp reversal of that as well. So it's just something to sort of keep in mind. And we saw sort of metals spring back to life last night. Excuse me. Aussie, just having a look on another chart as we talk at the moment, got a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders coming into a sort of a resistance area. So we've got things that are sort of coming back to life with it all. Copper was a big sort of push. I got a good entry on copper yesterday, actually, which I'll sort of go to in a moment because I think sort of we're right down in that sort of zone. We're testing a sort of triangle. A sort of falling wedge, so I think we've got good sort of potential upside there. And all these things, the reason I'm mentioning them while looking at the DXY chart is because all these things are going to weigh on US dollar weakness. So, the further that all these other instruments push, the bigger indication that we're going to be seeing US dollar move to the downside. So yeah, I'll be looking to see what happens down in this zone over here, 104.15. If we get down underneath here, because this is pretty much this kind of zone actually. I mean, you could drag it up. We're talking a couple of pips here, one way or another. But we can see this was yesterday's open. This sort of area through here, where we are, 10 o'clock. Yeah. So this is what I mean. You can't even sort of pick where these gaps are. If there were a gap, I think maybe this is the open here. Yeah, and see how tight everything is. You can't really pick anything. So this is a visible sort of gap on this on here. So let's just put an alert here. So close to this gap. Bam. If it does decide to shoot back up there, we know that, close the gap and then back to the gap direction. But yeah, I think sort of potentially we could see a bit of a move down here, a bit of a bounce, and then sort of, yeah, we'll have to sort of wait to see how it's playing out over here. I think the idea that as it goes up, they sell into it, I think people are going to have to realize that. And you know what I mean? It may be all very well that you want to sort of give it another shot, but we've got a little bit of a channel coming here. So maybe this could be sort of something, and then sort of a bounce here, and then sort of a tackle down over here. Gaps, as I said, I do believe gaps will close, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be buying this right now. So I'm not quite sure what people are doing. All right, so moving on, we got gold. As I said, gold sprung back to life last night. We're sort of coming into a bit of a resistance area here that we've sort of got marked out. So let's see what chart have we been working off. This is one that I sent a mate yesterday. So where we were sort of seeing, these 3 p.m. candles and seeing the reactions of them. It's quite interesting actually. So I'll put it onto the 1 hour so we can see go over it a little bit. But you can see these are 3 p.m. candles that are all measured out here. 1 hour before Asia close. And we can see that sort of going back last week, I mean, it's a sell down time at the end. I mean, this is a small sell down here. This was that sharp sell down to the bottom, and then look at the reaction. This was a sell down, just went here. So it was always at the end of Asia, we're seeing that sell down. Though 1, 2, 3, and now sort of, I guess you could maybe call this one 4. It took a couple of hours yesterday, of course. 4 out of the 5 sessions, it's actually been bullish after that sell down. So I think there's something that certainly we can unpack from that, to sort of say that sort of like we've got what I mean, even though they're trying to sort of break it just before Europe starts, people are using that sort of chance every single time to buy it up, even though they sell it down again and blah 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 blah. But yeah, anyway, back to what we were saying. So yesterday I was saying that look, if we get through this falling, we have this little bit of a channel sort of coming through here. I said, look, if we can get through this level here, there's a good chance that we go up and we sort of try and sweep out the stops up the top side over here. And we saw that big push up last night. It's consolidating the highs. Look, if we see DXY rally, then it might sort of snuff this a little bit. If DXY does decide to just keep on cruising down, looks like a good area in which the money's going to be sort of flowing into. So again, look, it's 62. You can see this is a big area that they've decided to sell it down from. It didn't even get there this time over here. So we can almost sort of drag. I don't know if I'll drag another one. I'll just connect these top wicks because I think this might line up a little bit as well. No, look, we've even sort of come through this thing here. So sort of consolidating up the top over here, I think looks pretty decent for at least a sort of push up here to sort of really test the strength of these sellers around the 62 zone. There was a lot of sort of levels, as you can see, sort of coming down through here. So again, it's just going to be sort of little areas where we sort of go through here. So make this a resistance so it shoots across. That's going to be an issue. They're not going to be massive ones, but they are little choppy levels. And you can see support, resistance, support, retest the previous support, resistance, boom. And this is a good example of sort of what I talk about, sort of like when you need those 1, 2, 3s. Move down, support, up, resistance, down, test that, broke through, starts the cycle again. This first candle is the third candle of the previous move. Down, support, up, check resistance, resistance at the support, down to tackle these ones, took out new low, and so on and so on and so on, moving down through here. So, I mean, when you can see these sort of things happen, and this happens on every time frame, it's not just sort of like, specific to the 1 or the 4 hour or anything like this. This will happen time and time again. So, it's certainly something you can use to determine, when a move is finally sort of coming to a sort of end. So, right down the bottom here, support up to check resistance. This is a previous area where we had a bit of back and forth, and then it comes down here. This is leg one, leg two, leg three. Buyers moved up. You can see here. Let's fix this up. Buyers moved up. Now reverse. Price moves up, tries to test this previous area where the sellers were. They held it one more time. They broke through. You know what I mean? So that's it's certainly just something you can sort of keep an eye on to sort of determine the strength of things. So look, at the moment, gold is certainly looking like it wants to go a little bit higher. We have a little bit of a triangle sort of lining up through here. This little break actually could give quite a decent sort of measured move. I'll flick actually just onto a lower time frame here so you can see that news yesterday. So this is the one that I was sort of talking about with ISM data. So this candle here first was BOC, dropped down, came up, closed quite high. I was like, oh, actually here we are, we're going. And then ISM data came out, bang, down. And then within 15 minutes, made it back up to the data drop point, which is the start of this candle, and bang, overcame it. And then obviously, as you see, sort of moved up and chugged up to the top side here. So yeah, look, it's coming into a little bit of a triangle here, ascending triangle. If we break this, we do have some like supports through this area here, which we can see. So I think that may sort of just end up sort of putting it down to a little bit of a nothingness Asia session if it doesn't break early. So we've still got that gap to close on DXY, so we'll sort of see how they sort of rally up with things. But at the moment, looking very much like sort of, gold's back in an upward momentum. I mean, we've seen this a couple of times through here. This is why this week's been so incredibly frustrating, because you're going up and then, okay, bang, down. Okay, we've got it now this time, up, bang, down. And it's just wiping everybody out. And this is what I was mentioning, we're taking out the lows each time. So, there was something in this one yesterday, as I mentioned, it didn't quite take out the lows, as you can see here, like half a buck or a buck like higher. And then obviously the resulting action has moved up to the top side here. So at the moment, it's looking like it's weakening a little bit, like it may not sort of want to sort of push through quite yet. So we'll have to sort of see how the rest of Asia session goes. But 11 o'clock seems to be a pretty good hour for volume coming into the market during Asia. So if they can push up a little bit in the next sort of say 15, 20 minutes or so coming into that sort of 11 o'clock turnover, it's 10:30 now, then we could definitely sort of see the volume come in at the right time and push that out to the top side here. But as it is right now, it's just really just a little bit slow. But that's all right. That's about given for this time of day. All right, flick across. We got Aussie coming back into it, and this is what I was mentioning just before. We had this little sort of inverted head and shoulders coming through here. We've kind of broken through. It's kind of like a double neckline though, because you could say sort of really that technically that there is the head and shoulders in this little move. Head, shoulder, and the other shoulder, which would give you a, what's the thing gone? It should give you a measured move to this sort of effect. Over here. I mean, that gives you a measured move back up to 80. Yeah. Which, you know what I mean, is definitely within the realm of sort of things here. Though, at the same time, we've almost got this second shoulder line up here, and this is the one that I'm sort of looking for in the pop 60. 60s always seem to be a bit of a issue, both directions for Aussie. 60s and 90s, I seem to sort of pop up time and time again. So, you know what I mean, I think sort of really, you got to get above this level over here to sort of, before we sort of see this chug up a little bit. You can see my plan from the other day where I thought we'd come back here. I'm like, nah, surely we won't get to 55. Comes all the way down here. So, look, I think above 60, look, technically 64 is those previous week highs, but I think a close above, into 60s. If we can close an hourly into, say, 65 or so, I think that opens it up. Next level would be the measured move of this little inverted head and shoulders. and this sort of takes us back up to, really undoing this big drop down move over here. So I reckon we're starting to see a couple of different times the price has been sort of, valued around here. You can see it's sold down from here. I mean, going way back over here, so way back, that's, what is it? Oh no, so it started May kind of thing. What I mean, this is an area in which we've seen the market has liked to sell it time and time again. This little move coming through here seems to line up fairly well with where we'd expect sellers to kind of be anyway. So I think sort of, if we can get the close at 65, then we look for the measured move up to 80, and then sort of see again how the market's sort of valuing things at that point in time. But I'm still waiting for major breakouts on for Aussie above sort of 67.40 really. But you know what I mean. There's obviously trades to be done in between now and then. You can see how incredibly frustrating this has been to try and hold anything. So stick to the in and out trades. I think here we go over 66 at the moment. If you can sort of decide to push through or not. All right, let's tick along. And cool, so here we go with copper. And copper, as you can see, is really respecting this falling wedge here. And this is a high time frame falling wedge as well. Like this isn't, anything too small. This is like been sort of building for, I mean, you could call this on the 4 hour even really. This has been building the falling resistance, which we're coming in and testing now, since the highs. So if you've been watching what I do, like I skim over copper fairly quickly sometimes because it has been in this extended sort of pullback and I'm not looking to short it. But as I said, I got in, I think it was 65.50 or so. It was around this sort of area yesterday. And obviously, bang, nice big solid break candle to the top side there. So this is one that I'm going to, technically we're into this zone. And this is why this is what I was saying yesterday. I wanted to see what happened in this little area here to sort of see, because you know what, we've seen sellers have been sort of pushing it down. Back onto the normal one so we know what we're talking about. Sellers have been pushing it down time and time again. You know what I mean? As I said, came from the top up here. So this is where we want it. So this is my big buy zone. If we got down here, it would have loaded. But yesterday, as I said, given the news, the price action, the consolidation, coming off this sort of like falling wedge support, because you can see this here. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches along this bottom line. So you know that the market is watching this and they're sort of valuing it off this. And obviously, bang, we'll push up to the top end here. Look, this could come back down here and really come into this buy zone and sort of stop out this position. Look, that's the risk that you sort of run with this. But it's a good sort of strong bullish candle to start things off. We're up into this up into this sort of little short-term resistance. If we could push through, there's a lot of work to be done. As I said, look, we can see sellers were only just above it recently. So, you know what I mean? There's a good chance that we get this move, pops through here, and then sort of we find sellers here and it comes back down. So I don't think we're going to be getting some big rocket move necessarily coming up here. I think it's going to take a while to grind, but that's all right. We've got a good entry, and so I'm happy to sort of sit on that for the moment and sort of see how that one sort of plays out. So at the moment, it's early Asia, not really seeing too much. Looking a little bit sort of like bearish at the moment. We do have a sort of a fair drop back down here, but we'll have to sort of see again. If they try to close a gap on DXY, that might sort of force a little bit of a break to the downside with a couple of these things, shake out a few. But as I said, I still think that that's only going to be short-lived. I think they're going to close the gap, and then I think they're going to revert back to sort of selling it down. DXY, I'm talking here. So up around this level here, as I said, we got another move up to 64688. That kind of sell area through here. This will be interesting to sort of see what happens here. I think you can get above this level over here. I think that's a good confirmation that we've broken the wedge and we're back on this track to sort of start. Like there's going to be little levels to tackle, of course, but puts us back on track to be sort of moving back up towards retesting the highs. And like I said just a moment ago, you got to look at these things at a very big sort of thing. Here's your push up. Resistance, down, support. This is the leg that we want to see. Is this going to give us a lower high? In which case, ultimately we're going to be changing trend moving down. Is this going to give us a double top? Or is it going to give us a higher high? And this is the leg that I want to try and sort of, this is the leg I'm trying to trade at the moment, is this leg through here, because I think that sort of there's a good chance that we even go for a higher high and continue on with this. I mean, we've had a 30% move to get us up to here. This is a decent pullback, but really, realistically, over the scheme of things, this is a fairly shallow pullback. In this, like, given the size of that whole sort of move from the lows from like 39. So yeah, I think that this is definitely sort of worth a good sort of couple of 100-point move to the top side here. We just have to sort of see if this is now the bottom, because obviously it's tried a few times, unable to sort of really hold them. But yeah, we've got a couple of the technicals that are lining up. We've got the wedge, and you know what I mean, as we see, even just this little bit here. So, this last move down here, if you watch what I do, this is the thing that I look for each time, and this is our little negative divergence through here. So you can see here are your lows, here are your lows, here, and we've got a higher low here. So this one here, negative divergence. So we've got a couple of things in a technical point that's saying that, look, this may be actually the bottom for now. We have to sort of see how we go. We've seen DXY sort of put in a little bit of buying effort here. So yeah, we might see a little bit of a push up early and try and sort of close that gap. And finish off with China. Again, what's there to say about China? It's pretty much running the path that we expect, which is just the grind. It's one of those things, as I say with China, you wait for it to break the zone, these moves here, and then you react to move. Otherwise, it's just, you know, watching paint dry. I mean, all the best to them. I mean, they've got a pretty stable currency in that sense. I mean, you know, they're not sort of flying up and down and all over the place, but they've got pretty good control on it. But at the same time, from a trading standpoint, it's just mind-numbing. You just want to sort of see how that China data reacts and pushes and can sort of influence Aussie really. And also, it's a good indicator of you know, sort of how sort of USD strength has been brought up against the Asian currencies. Not so much just a more broad of everybody and European mainly currencies. So look, through here, there's not really much to say about it all. I mean, there's a little negative divergence here coming into the support, but this is why we have these levels here. And that's what I was saying. I think it was a Monday or something, maybe the weekend or Monday. I was saying, look, you know, this is the area where we're going to find buying, and that's where the buyers stepped in. So they're watching the same chart. They're looking at the same stuff. Look, topside's always, when you're in a range, I mean, there's always the possibility that you continue. We came into this little part of the range in a positive sense. So there's always the chance that you push out to the top side here. But as I said, I think the main idea with US dollar going down means that inevitably we will come down here into this right shoulder, back down to, you know, sort of low sort of sevens. But, you know, I mean, as I said, there's no point sort of trying to predict this one. You just set your alerts underneath the levels. So popping range to downside, and just wait for that alert to go off and then sort of trade accordingly. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it from me. Just have a quick look over if we've got any news coming out. A little bit of sort of low tier news for Aussie. We've got goods trades balance tipped to go up a little bit. That could be positive for Aussie, but again, not a big mover. Job advertisements, that doesn't really have a set time. So look, it's looking pretty quiet through Asia, and also mostly through European sessions as well. 10:15 tonight, we have ECB coming out with their rate decision. As I said, expectation is a cut of cut to 4.25%, so a cut of 25 basis points. It's been spoken about for a long time. It was umming and ahhing for a long time as to sort of whether the Fed or ECB would be first to cut. Nobody even really sort of spoke about Canada. Canada's like, you know, the New Zealand to Australia as Canada is to America. But you know what I mean? If the bigger shock is if they don't cut. If they don't cut, US dollar is going to get absolutely hammered. We're going to see metals and Aussie are going to sort of fly. But I would say most likely, you know, it's been telegraphed. It's said that they're going to cut. Same with BOC. I reckon they've got this one right. They are going to cut. That's already been majorly priced in. So my expectation of the price action of that would be, a shoot up. I mean, knee-jerk reaction, sell-off of euro. DXY would pump up. Aussie will get a little bit of a hit. Metals get a bit of a hit, and then I think that'll be again fairly short-lived, like we saw last night with the ISM data. I think that's sort of the kind of reaction that we're looking for. Excuse me, just that people will be sort of selling into the larger bits of um, USD moving news. We've got NFP tomorrow night, so that's another one to keep on mind. So, I mean, in theory, if they do break it early, you could see a break to the downside here. This is a thought. You could see a break to the downside earlier tonight. Strong, well, strong. NFP data supporting it could give you this retest leg here before being sold into again. So, but this is the main level. You want to see underneath 104. I think things are going to start to break because we know that this is a super strong level. I mean, go back here, you just can't see anything underneath here. Look at this, even this area sort of down here, up here. This is going to be a super fast move, I would say, through this area through here. So this would be something to really sort of sink your teeth into if it does sort of come here. But there is not much here. Look at how quickly the price moved down through this area and how quickly it moved back up through this area. There's a good chance that we see similar price action down here. And we're talking a 100-point move down here, which for DXY is a fairly substantial move. It's almost 1% at these levels. All right, that's about it from me.